If you've been keeping up with Euphoria's third season, you already know that HBO just delivered something absolutely unhinged, and we're not even talking about the plot yet. Season 3 kicked off on April 12th with 2 episodes that immediately reminded us why this show is basically the chaos generator of prestige television. But episode 3, that's when things are about to reach a whole new level. On Sunday, April 26th, the network is dropping what might be the most dramatically charged episode of the entire season, the wedding of Cassie and Nate. Now, before you even get to the vows, before you hear a single word of dialogue, there's something that caught everyone's attention. On April 23rd, HBO released the official photos from the ceremony, and the internet absolutely lost it. But it wasn't the bride and groom that had people losing their minds. It was the guests, the outfits, the choices, the absolute audacity of what people decided to wear to this particular wedding was so wild, so chaotic, so perfectly Euphoria, that fans couldn't stop talking about it online. One People writer looked at these photos and had a brilliant idea: rank every single outfit not by traditional fashion standards, but by one specific metric. How fast would each outfit make Cassie have another one of her famous emotional breakdowns? And honestly, that's the only ranking system that makes sense for a show like this. Because here's the thing about Euphoria: it's not just a drama about teenagers dealing with the usual high school problems. It's the most chaotic show on television. And the fashion is always part of the statement. When characters walk into a room wearing something, it means something. It tells a story. It starts conflicts. And this particular wedding, it's basically a masterclass in how clothing can either smooth things over or absolutely detonate everything in a 5-foot radius. So let's talk about what everyone's going to be wearing, what it means, and most importantly, how close each outfit comes to sending Cassie spiraling into a bathroom breakdown. Because if there's one thing the show has taught us, it's that Cassie Jacobs and her emotions are not something to take lightly. One wrong fashion choice could be the spark that burns the whole event down. Let's start with the person who came to this wedding with absolutely nothing to lose and everything to prove. Maddy Perez. If you've been watching since day one, you know the history here. Maddy was Cassie's best friend. Then Nate happened. Then Cassie betrayed that friendship in the most devastating way possible. And now, somehow, Maddy has decided that the best way to handle this situation is to show up looking absolutely stunning. And when we say stunning, we mean it in the most confrontational way possible. Maddy walks into this ceremony wearing a dress that can only be described as a power move wrapped in green silk. We're talking about a revealing gown that doesn't hide anything. It announces her presence, and she paired it with a matching feather boa, because apparently subtle wasn't in her vocabulary that day. This isn't just a dress. This is a statement. This is Maddy saying, without speaking a single word, I'm here, I'm fabulous. And your bride is going to absolutely lose it when she sees the revealing nature of the gown is the whole point. It's the kind of outfit that makes you turn heads, that makes people whisper, that makes the bride's blood pressure spike about 30 seconds after she spots it. Think about what Cassie sees when she looks at Maddy in that moment. She sees her former best friend looking better than she probably expected. She sees a woman who has nothing to hide, literally and figuratively. She sees confidence that Cassie herself is desperately trying to project but clearly isn't. Feeling underneath that corset, the boa is the cherry on top. It's luxurious. It's daring. It's the kind of thing you wear when you want the entire room to know that you're unbothered. And Cassie is going to be absolutely bothered. The moment those two lock eyes across the ceremony, you can practically see the meltdown waiting to happen. Maddy just achieved what might be the fastest path to a Cassie emotional breakdown in the entire guest list. And she did it with nothing but a dress and an attitude. But Maddy isn't the only one who showed up with something to prove. Then there's Rue, and Rue's whole situation is different. Because Rue isn't trying to make a statement about fashion or power or anything like that. Rue is just being Rue. She's never been the type to care about what she's wearing or whether she's meeting expectations. In fact, most people probably didn't expect her to wear a dress to this wedding at all. But she did show up in one, which is already a surprise. Except she showed up with Converse. Actual, casual, sneakers level Converse. It sounds like a small thing. It sounds like maybe we're overthinking it. But in the context of a formal wedding ceremony, it's absolutely not a small thing. This is exactly the kind of detail that would send someone like Cassie into a spiral. Here's Rue at this fancy, elaborate, meticulously planned wedding, wearing a dress with casual sneakers. It's the kind of fashion choice that screams, I don't care about your event or your expectations. And while Rue genuinely might not care about that stuff, because Rue genuinely doesn't care about a lot of things, Cassie is going to interpret it differently. Cassie's going to see it as disrespect. Cassie's going to spiral thinking about why Rue couldn't even put on proper shoes for her wedding. Cassie's going to imagine everyone laughing at her wedding because one of her friends showed up looking like they were heading to a coffee shop instead of a ceremony. You can practically hear the internal monologue happening in Cassie's head when she spots those Converse. How could she? Couldn't she at least have worn a kitten heel? Does she have any respect for this day at all? Is this about me? This feels like it's about me. And that's the dangerous thing about Rue's outfit. It's not intentionally cruel or chaotic like Maddy's, it's just authentically ruinous to the point of being oblivious. But it's going to sting anyway. And it's definitely going to trigger another emotional moment from the bride. But if you thought Maddy's power move and Rue's casual rebellion were pushing boundaries, you haven't seen what Jules decided to do yet. Jules is another level entirely. When it comes to dress codes, Jules has never been someone who follows them. She writes her own rules. She walks to the beat of her own drum, and honestly, you have to respect the confidence it takes to reinvent what it means to be a wedding guest. But here's the thing about truly unconventional fashion choices. At a formal event sometimes, they cross a line. Sometimes they tip from beautifully bold into maybe not the best decision for this particular occasion. Jules showed up wearing a minimalist dress that basically screams rebellion against everything a traditional wedding guest should wear. It's the kind of outfit that makes you think, I respect the audacity, but also are we sure about this? And the reason it's potentially such a risky choice is simple. It requires a level of preparation and body maintenance that most people don't think about when they're getting ready for a wedding. It's the kind of dress where if you have to make certain choices beforehand just to feel comfortable in it, maybe it's not the right dress for your high school friend's wedding. Maybe it's the kind of dress you save for a different event, in a different context. But this is Jules. She doesn't really worry about what's appropriate. She worries about being authentic to herself. And if that authenticity makes other people uncomfortable, well, that's not her problem. Except at this particular wedding, it kind of is everyone's problem. Because chaos seems to be following this event like a shadow, Jules' choice will definitely catch people's attention. It will make some guests raise their eyebrows. And if Cassie hears even a whisper of criticism about Jules' outfit, she's absolutely going to internalize it as part of the day going wrong. Then there's the bridesmaid situation. Lexi is Cassie's sister, which means she's in the bridal party, which means Cassie specifically chose her dress. And the dress Cassie chose, it's safe, it's predictable, it's pink with bows. It's the kind of bridesmaid dress that screams, I'm coordinated with my bride, I'm supportive, and I'm going to blend nicely in the background. Lexi, for her part, seems to have accepted the dress with grace. There's no evidence of her taking any creative liberties with tailoring, or making it her own in any rebellious way. She's just wearing it as intended. And here's the beautiful irony. The person who has the least potential to trigger a Cassie breakdown is literally part of Cassie's inner circle. Lexi isn't making a statement. She's not trying to prove anything. She's not fighting any battles or making any points. She's just being a good sister and a good bridesmaid. And because of that, because of her complete lack of drama or attitude, she's basically the safest outfit choice at the entire event. In a wedding filled with people making bold statements and pushing boundaries, Lexi's quiet acceptance and traditional approach is actually the most refreshing thing there. But then we get to the real question that everyone wants answered. What about Cassie herself? Cassie's wearing a wedding dress, obviously. It's what brides wear. It's what you'd expect her to be wearing. And on the surface, there's nothing controversial about a bride wearing a wedding dress to her own wedding. That's how this works, right? Except in Euphoria, nothing is ever that simple. Nothing is ever just what it appears to be on the surface. And when you look at the official photos from the ceremony, something stands out immediately. Cassie's wearing a dress that should make her feel like the most beautiful woman in the room, except her face tells a different story. There's something happening behind Cassie's eyes in these photos. There's an expression there that doesn't quite match the narrative of a happy bride about to marry the love of her life. It's subtle, but it's there. It's unmistakable once you see it. There's this pain quality to her expression. There's this sense that maybe everything isn't as perfect as she's been telling everyone it is. Maybe the smile she's practicing isn't reaching all the way to her eyes. Maybe the corset is too tight, or maybe something else is too tight. Something emotional, something internal, that no amount of perfect tailoring can fix. The wedding dress itself might be stunning. It might be exactly what Cassie always dreamed of wearing. But the person wearing it doesn't look like someone who's living the dream. She looks like someone who's starting to question whether she made the right choice. She looks like someone who's wondering if maybe, just maybe, marrying Nate was the biggest mistake of her life. And if that's what's happening underneath that dress, then Cassie is basically walking around with her own personal breakdown waiting to happen. The dress isn't going to cause drama in the traditional sense. It's not going to offend anyone or break any rules. But it represents something deeper. It represents the possibility that by the end of this episode, Cassie might not just be emotionally devastated by the actions of her guests. She might be emotionally devastated by her own life choices. And that's actually more dramatic than anything Maddy could do with a green gown. Because this is what makes Euphoria different from other shows. This is what makes it so compelling. The fashion choices matter, but they're always bigger than just fashion. They're reflections of what's happening inside these characters. When Maddy wears that green dress with the boa, she's expressing something about power and resilience. When Rue wears Converse with a dress, she's expressing something about not caring about social conventions. When Jules pushes boundaries with her outfit, she's expressing something about existing on her own terms. And when Cassie stands there in her wedding dress with that expression on her face, she's expressing something about doubt and regret and the creeping realization that maybe she's made a terrible mistake. That's the real story of this wedding, and it's all there in what everyone chose to wear. Euphoria has always understood that fashion is a language. It's how characters tell their stories when words fail them. It's how they communicate with each other without speaking. It's how they make statements about who they are and what they believe, and what they're willing to do. And in the lead up to this wedding episode, every single outfit choice is basically someone sending a message. Some of those messages are intentionally confrontational, some are accidentally devastating, and some are so honest that they break your heart just looking at them. The beauty of ranking these outfits by how fast they trigger a Cassie breakdown isn't just about having fun with fashion criticism. It's about understanding the layers of this show. It's about recognizing that when people put on clothes, they're making choices that matter. They're saying things that can't be unsaid. And in a group of friends and enemies gathered together for a single event, all making statement after statement with what they're wearing, the potential for disaster is basically unlimited. Sunday's episode is going to be chaos. That much is guaranteed. And it's all going to start before anyone even exchanges vows. It's all going to start the moment people walk in and see what everyone else decided to wear. It's all going to start with the clothes, with the choices, with the silent conversations happening through fabric and color and style. And by the time we get to whatever actually happens during the ceremony itself, Cassie probably going to be hanging by an emotional thread, held together by nothing but expensive tailoring and the desperate hope that somehow, some way, this day is going to go better than everyone knows it will. That's Euphoria in a nutshell. That's why we keep coming back. That's why these fashion details matter as much as the plot. Because in a show this chaotic, in a universe where emotions run this high and relationships are this complicated, what you wear is never just what you wear. It's a weapon, a shield, a confession, and a cry for help all at the same time. And this wedding is about to prove exactly why that matters.